Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and we're going to be taking a look at the Xbox Series X an entire year later. So, this console happens to be the first one that I've ever gotten on launch day, and I have to say, I've been having a lot of fun with it ever since I got it. I got the PS5 a month after it launched, and then I got the Series S somewhere in July. So, this is the one that I've held on to for the longest. I will admit straight from the get-go, this is also the one I've played the most, so I have pretty much the most information and knowledge about this one compared to the other consoles. But I'm not going to be biased. I'm going to give information for this just as I would any other console, so don't think I'm going to be holding any bias in this video. I love all of my consoles. As you guys know, if you watch my videos, I play every console, so I don't really think that I need to specifically pick sides. I will always look at the negatives for consoles at the same time as looking at the positives. So anyway, guys, as I've been waiting, let's get right into the review of this. I've been waiting to review this for a very long time. I'm happy that today is the day to do it. Happy anniversary to all you Series X owners out there. So I figured I'd just give a quick overview of the system before jumping into the more in-depth review. I forgot to do this on the Series S video. I'm sorry about that, guys. It's not the biggest thing, but I felt like I should just add it in anyway. So this console features HDMI 2.1 technology, which means it can do basically 720p all the way up to 4K at 120 Hz, and it can even go up to 8K at 60 Hz. As long as you have an HDMI 2.1 display, you can do those higher resolutions and refresh rates. If you were using HDMI 2.0, but you still have a monitor that can do 120 Hz and 144 Hz, you still are only limited to the 1080p and 1440p options on here. But regardless, the console looks great in all the resolutions. I've never had any issues looking at it on lower resolution monitors. This really does look great on those kind of monitors. I've played them on multiple different TVs in my house to prove it. I haven't really recorded any footage of that, but that's besides the point. In terms of what this also features, this is fully backwards compatible with the Xbox One games. It has some backwards compatibility for the 360 original Xbox as well, but it's basically fully backwards compatible with the Xbox One. There may be like 1, 2, or 3 games that aren't fully working on the system, but a majority of them do, considering that they're both running the x86 architecture. Another thing that is really beneficial is this actually is backwards compatible with all of the last gen peripherals as well, meaning Xbox controllers, even some Guitar Hero guitars, peripherals, headsets, a lot of other stuff. The one surprising thing that's not compatible with, though, is the Kinect. I mean, I'm not really surprised. Microsoft ditched the Kinect as soon as Phil Spencer really came around, so I'm not really surprised about that. But some of you who maybe want a Kinect to use on this, there's nothing you can really do about that at the moment. There probably will be an adapter down the line. I'm not even sure if there is one right now. I didn't even look it up, but regardless, that's the only other thing that's missing. Actually, you know what? There's one more thing that's missing. If you are somebody who used the HDMI in port on the Xbox One, there is no longer an HDMI in. There's only an HDMI out, meaning you can't really use this to plug any other HDMI system into it anymore. They took away that system. I can tell that by looking at the system, they tried their best to stay away from the Xbox One's beginning. This really, honestly, had a different kind of launch, a different kind of look than what the Xbox One did, and you should expect that with any console generation. Things are going to change, so some features are going to stay, some features are going to go. Honestly, I'm not really sad with any of the features that left. I am happy with a lot of the features that stayed. So with that out of the way, guys, let's get into the more in-depth review. So when it comes to the games at the moment, this is the console where you will see the best performance and the highest resolution across the board in a lot of scenarios, which isn't a surprise when considering that it is more powerful than the PS5 on paper. It is worth noting, however, that the PS5 does beat the Series X in some titles, but the Series X being the more powerful console, this is where you're going to see most of the titles get the best performance. So looking at these games, a majority of them are still available on Xbox One, which means that we still haven't seen the full potential of the Series X in terms of visuals just yet, but performance tells a whole new story. Unlike a majority of games last generation, we're getting a huge amount of games in 60 FPS, with some of them even hitting the 120 FPS target as well. For those of you that have HDMI 2.1 monitors or TV, that's really the only way that you'll be able to take advantage of the 120 FPS titles if you're looking to play them in 4K. Otherwise, if you have anything like an HDMI 2.0, monitor and you have it in 120 hertz, you'll only be able to do it in 1440p or 1080p. These last two topics of the gameplay experience are going to be in both my Series S and X reviews, so if you already saw this part in one of the other videos, you can skip this part and go into the next section. So, in terms of Series S and X only games, there doesn't seem to be much just yet. There have been some announced for the end of 2021, and even others announced going into 2022 and 2023. Some of these titles are still coming to Xbox One as well, but I don't think it's a bad thing that these games are still coming, especially when a majority of people still haven't been able to get their hands on the new consoles due to scalpers and a lack of restocks in store. So the last thing to really cover here is, honestly, Game Pass Ultimate. As somebody who has been a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber for over a year, I really have to say that this is the best service that has ever come to video games. For just $15 a month, you get access to both the consoles and PC versions of Game Pass, a catalog of over 100 games, the ability to play every single one of Microsoft's exclusives on day one, Xbox Live Gold, and the xCloud streaming service where you can stream games from the cloud on mobile, PC, and even from your console. As a collector, I usually stay away from the digital games, but with Game Pass, it gives me the opportunity to play the games before I decide to get myself a physical copy, and thanks to the service, it has stopped me from buying a few games I thought I was going to enjoy. So, if you have an Xbox, especially the Series S and the X right now, this is seriously the service you should have alongside with it. Even if you don't have the Series X and S right now, there are still a ton of games that you can play on your Xbox One, and they play great. So with all that out of the way, guys, let's start talking about the next topic. Alright guys, we are now going to be looking at backwards compatibility. When comparing this console to the other ones, this is probably the best place for backwards compatibility when considering it supports all the way back to the original Xbox and also has a disk drive, meaning that you can play a majority of your old library, which is just something you can't unfortunately say about the Series S. Performance-wise, a majority of these games run better on this console, making it the definitive place to play a majority of these games. Those games that struggled to hit the target frame rate on the original Xbox and Xbox 360 have been smoothed out, and even some of the frame rates have been raised thanks to the newer hardware, and that's a pretty big deal considering that it's being done through emulation. When talking about the Xbox One and One X backwards compatibility, these consoles are running basically the same architecture as the Series X, so it isn't very hard to get these consoles to run on the system, and it's basically as if you're upgrading a PC with like a new CPU and a graphics card and memory, because it pretty much always hits that targeted frame rate, and it really is a much better experience than if you're playing it on the Xbox One or the One X. Unlike the Series S, you actually do get the One X upgrades that were possible. So that's some great news considering that the Xbox One X games, or at least a majority of them that were trying to hit that 60 FPS target, didn't always hit it, and you were almost always staying locked at that target when playing it on the Series X. The biggest thing that we have been seeing across the next generation of consoles has been the last gen frame rate enhancements, and I hope that we will continue to see this happen with the older games, because those frame rate improvements really make certain games play that much better. I really hope that developers go back into those games and seriously put those upgrades, because a lot of games that had a 30 FPS target can no doubt be locked at 60 FPS when playing it on the Series X if the developers try hard enough to do it. One of the biggest features of the next generation has been the inclusion of SSDs, and with that, we have the privilege of these just insane load times that we have never gotten in any other console minus these new ones, as well as an exclusive feature with the Series X and S, specifically Quick Resume. Just being able to switch between games in little to no time while being able to pick up where you left off is an absolute win, and it definitely is something that will benefit you if you are somebody that plays online games with friends in between sessions of single player games you are trying to complete. When talking about the other benefits of the SSD, going between menus is snappy, and loading into a majority of games happens in seconds. Where we haven't seen any ways in which the SSD was implemented in any real-time gameplay yet on Xbox's side, I have a feeling that the future is bright, and this is definitely going to be the way to go for gaming as time progresses. The one downside to us having an SSD in our consoles is the fact that they're just so damn expensive, which made them only able to put 1TB into the Series X and 512GB into the Series S. Those are very small amounts of storage, so you're going to need to upgrade somewhere down the line. The only current way to upgrade your storage to where you can actually play the games off of the series consoles is the Seagate proprietary SSD that goes into the back of the console. Otherwise, if you're going to get any other external hard drive to store your games, you'll only be able to play the Xbox One and below games, while you have to only have the ability to store the series games, not play them. However, a Chinese company is making an adapter to allow for mini M.2 SSDs to work on the series consoles, and those are going to be going for $30. So we'll see how that goes when the time comes, but for now, we are stuck with the only upgrade option being the proprietary SSDs that go into the back of the console. One thing I forgot to mention is that even if you do get an external hard drive and you are really hell-bent on playing the games off of it, don't panic too much. It actually doesn't take a lot of time to transfer the games between the external hard drive and the console and the other way around. It took me only about 10 minutes to transfer Cold War from my external hard drive to my Series X. I currently don't have the proprietary storage. I'm using a 2TB external hard drive. So I just wanted to leave that disclaimer for you guys. Anyway, guys, let's go into the final verdict of this video. Alright guys, so we're here at the end of this video where we're basically going to be talking about whether this console is worth it or not. And here it is. This Xbox is seriously worth your money if you were looking for the best console Xbox experience, or even considering this as the best console experience. You would have to choose between the Xbox and PS5, which I also will have another video out. So if you want to check out which one you prefer, there's not only going to be that video, but I'm going to do another video comparing these two consoles at some point. So for $500, the same price you get the PS5 disc version, this console has the most powerful hardware, the best service, which is Game Pass, the most storage. This has a terabyte compared to the around 800 gigabytes in the PS5 and the 512 in the Series S, and the best backwards compatibility that we have, spanning all the way back to the original Xbox and including that disk drive to play your existing library instead of you having to rebuy them digitally. So this, like I said before, basically is the best Xbox console experience that there is right now. And in terms of games, in terms of calling it the best console right now, you are going to have to choose between this and the PS5. Like I just said, there aren't as many exclusive games on the system as there are on the PS5, but there have been a ton announced, and from what we have seen with Microsoft seeming to not be slowing down with acquiring companies, the future does look bright, and it does look like that they're going to be giving Sony a run for their money. So although I just said that the best Xbox console experience is on here, it's up to you guys to decide what the best Xbox experience is for you. So what do I mean by that? Well, Microsoft isn't just focusing on their consoles anymore. They also have their platforms with xCloud, which is through Game Pass Ultimate, and they have their platforms on PC. So in terms of whether this console is worth it for you really have to decide what platform you are looking to play Xbox on. So with PC, you get a majority of their exclusives, and at the same time, a lot of third parties are coming there. With their streaming service, where it is definitely limited, there are more and more games coming to the service. So that's really a decision for you guys to make. In terms of looking at PC right now, which I'm going to give my main focus on, if you're a PC player, especially if you have a very capable PC, I don't necessarily think that you need to get a Series X, because judging by the fact that you're on PC, you're not really playing physical anymore. You already have backwards compatibility with your older PC games, and at this point, I mean, if you have a pretty capable PC, you're already running something, more than likely running something that's better than this, and if you aren't, honestly, I think it's just time for you guys to upgrade down the line whenever you guys feel like you need to. I don't necessarily think that if you're a PC player, you need to be on an Xbox, because you are basically getting the same kind of experience just on a different platform. You know, it's still Xbox, but it's on a computer. So that's what I think is really cool about this generation, that you don't necessarily need to choose one thing. You can choose whatever you're comfortable with, and Microsoft is making it very easy for those people to make those decisions. However, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy an Xbox if you're playing on PC. I happen to be a PC owner as well. Instead of spending a ton of money to upgrade my PC, I jumped on the Series X, I got a PS5, and I also got the Series S. You know, I got the Series S for the hell of it, but you get my point. I got these consoles as well, regardless of having those platforms. And if you're a PC main and you want a secondary console, that's really your choice, whether you want to choose between the Series X and the S. It's what you're willing to spend and what you're willing to get. Like I said, this can do a lot. The Series S can do a lot. It really depends what you're looking for. I honestly think if you are a PC owner, though, from my honest opinion, if you were looking for a secondary console and you're already a PC owner and a PC main, I think you should jump onto the Xbox Series S, considering you're being all digital anyway. And really, you don't necessarily need something this powerful if you already have a powerful PC. On the other hand, if your Xbox Series X is going to be more powerful than your PC, then maybe it's not a bad upgrade for the time being. I can't really decide what you guys are doing. That's really up to you. I'm just giving my 2 cents on some decisions that you guys have to think about. So, yeah, guys, that's my final verdict on the Xbox Series X. I'm going to say, again, this is my favorite console that has come out this generation so far. Just going up to this point, I'm really enjoying this console a lot, and I'm going to be having a lot of fun playing it for the rest of the generation. If there's a mid-gen refresh, I don't know if I'm going to get that console. Who knows if there's going to be one? I hope there's not. I really don't want to spend any more money, but even if one comes out, I don't think I'm going to do it unless I get more serious with this tech review thing. So, great console. Series S is a great console. PS5 is a great console. Switch is a great console. So you can't really go wrong. At the end of the day, it's all video games, and we should all come together. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one.